for my tardiness, but we're here, we are here. As you know, generally tardy is what it is. I'm not going to try to defend my difficulty in keeping times at time. It just it is just is what it is. But I promise you, it will improve over time. It won't get worse. It will improve. Um, on today's show, it's the doctor's surgery. If you're tuning in, if you're tuned in, if you're tuned in, if you're tuned in, it's the doctor's surgery on omegafmradio.co.uk. The phone or texting line is 0753 996 8143. I'll give it again 0753 996 8143. Um, if you're listening, you can listen in on Omega 104.1 or on the doctor's surgery. You can watch live on YouTube. You know, the channel on YouTube is the doctor's surgery. If you Google the doctor's surgery, you will see, you will then go to the filters and you will choose filter on the channel. We're the first one at the top. So we'd ask you guys to subscribe.
Okay, you need to turn down the mic a bit. Okay, thank you.
We ask you guys to the mic.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Okay. We'll ask you guys to subscribe.
It's discounting a bit.
Huh?
It's discounting a bit, something like that.
Okay, we'll ask you guys to subscribe. I'm sure why, because the lights ain't going into the red, so I'm not quite sure. Let me know. Let me know how you're hearing me now.
Turn up there.
You can't hear nothing. Let me know how you're hearing me now. So yeah, let me know. So it's the doctor's surgery. You can go on, as I said, go onto YouTube. You can watch live via the YouTube, search doctor's surgery, and then go into channels and search on the channels filter on the channels, and then you will be the first one at the top. The doctor's surgery channel, you can watch live, watch the live broadcast with us in the studio. What are we talking about this week? I'm going to introduce the subject here, and then I'm going to see if we got more than one listener listening in this morning before we go in and it's going into any depth. We check out to see if everything is working and people are listening.
Okay.
Happy Tuesday morning. Today, before I go into the show, is Black Pound Day.
All right then. Thank you.
What's happening?
All right,
Today is Black Pound Day.
You said it's a little bit better, but not all that.
Say again?
You said it's a little bit better, but not all that. I think you can touch this one.
No. One shall not so. Yeah. What is wrong with it? Sorry.
You're saying it's crackling. It's
The mic is crackling.
not sounding right.
I don't know if it's the mic or the mask that I have on. Please let me know. I'll do my best to sit away from the mic as best as possible. Okay, so I don't know. Please keep me posted with it if it's not getting any better. I'm doing my best to resolve it in the studio.
Is that sounding?
So as I said, today is Don't Spend a Penny, support black businesses. Black Pound Day, as they call it, Tuesday the 7th of July.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So there's going to be a pop-up shop from 3 to 9 p.m. At Monks Park Community Cafe, Monks Park Road, HA96JE. Vendors will be selling handmade designed accessories, black soap, books, essential oils, jewelry, mini health scans available, homemade sweet treats, shea butter, and vegan food. And you can contact Maury on 0792780285. Okay, so that's Black Pound Day. Don't spend a penny. Support black businesses. Tuesday, 7th of July, 3 to 9 p.m. today. And they're asking you to come and support our pop-up shop. When I say our, the pop-up shop at Monks Park Community Cafe, Monks Park, HA96JE. Again, vendors will be selling handmade designed accessories, black soaps, books, essential oils, jewelry, mini health scans available, homemade sweet treats, and shea butter. So what are we talking about today? There's been so much in the news over the past week. It's really difficult to pick out the key things. As you know, we need to start thinking as a people a bit more globally in our outlook and our approach. For those that haven't started thinking that way, it's not about just the UK. As you know, the UK itself, as a country, as a nation, it has to be now looking globally to restart and reboost its economy. Now it's no longer an EU nation, and it's only a matter of time before we're fully um, out of the EU. We're just going through the final months of the transition period, and then the UK should be a free nation to trade with nations right across the globe as it sees fit. What are you doing to put yourself in a strong position? So much times we as a people, we just sit on our proverbial and in just sitting down on our proverbial butts, we expect things to happen for us. What are you getting up off the proverbial and doing and pushing to manifest? What is that vision? What is that focal dream that you can make happen? Um, I saw a few videos this week in relation to news articles. One from about an elderly historian and TV commentator by the name of David Starkey. We're going to make some comments on that, the David Starkey incident. Um, the other, in the limelight within the news this week is the Lewis Hamilton getting the race, majority of races, not all. Well, all the races wore the Black Lives Matters shirts, but not all took a knee, which they're in their free rights to do so. Well, you have to wonder whether it was a will, whether it was a push, but nonetheless, it's good to see that global push towards the Black Lives Matter scenario. I want to give a round of applause to Google, where they took a young lady that has Down syndrome and given her and a representative image within today's society. And the reason why I'm really congratulating them is not because they simply just take the images. They haven't really tried to Gucci. I'm not saying Google. My bad, Gucci. They haven't really tried to come off the edge of this Black Lives Matter thing, but rather a more broader base. Whereas so many people and so much different groups are trying to use the Black Lives Matter movement at the moment as a focal point, with the exception of the police. We know that the head of the Metropolitan Police, what's her name again? Crusader Dick. She's the head of the Metropolitan Police. She's again in her prime element of pushing her racist thinking, saying that she doesn't pander to the whims of every. What was it? What was the cheeky comment, the feisty comment? She said she doesn't pander to the whims of every push. Or so basically, what she's saying with the Black Lives Matter incident and with the Black Lives Matter movement and the racist incidents that are popping up with the Met Police, she doesn't really care. And when you look at the racist incidents coming out from the Met Police, not as bad as America, fortunately, but still, nonetheless, it's quite bad in parts. We know that that young British athlete, what's her name? The young British athlete and her partner, they're both athletes that are training to represent Britain in the Olympics next year. So perhaps they would have been representing Britain this year. No, actually, she wouldn't have been representing Britain this year because she's got a 3-month-old, so she would have missed the Olympics this year. So COVID-19 has helped you out, since this, not in a disrespectful way, but yeah. So she's training to be.
Bianca Williams.
So Bianca Williams, that's it. Bianca Williams, they were stopped and dragged out their car and cuffed by the police in North London. I'm not quite sure where in North London. They said in an area with high crime rates. So that's probably Northwest, right? The Northwest area. I wonder if they live locally to Harlesden or Stonebridge or something, because it's a natural occurrence around there every day. If you're black in the Northwest area and the police stops you, 90% of the time you'll get a hard time. On a 10% of the time you'll get a easygoing incident. Because we know that they are quite, once they get hands on, they get very hands on. And it's usually, the white officers that are not from around town that are like that. The ones that are from around town, they don't usually do that. And they're the 10% you'd prefer to meet than the ones that are not from around town, that seem like they are placed in the area to try to make a name for themselves in their behavior. And as you can see, they're supported by the Crusader Dick, head of the Metropolitan Police, because I guess, as you can see, she's just an ugly woman in personality and thinking. She's ugly in every way you can put it. You know what I'm saying? She's got a face only a mother can love. So you can understand, perhaps why she's just hateful towards people on a whole, especially people that she doesn't see eye to eye to, and that's really probably men and people of color. You get me? So it is a sad state of affairs when the Met Police can come out and say such a disparaging remark, when such a and it let's not say it was extremely bad, but it was bad nonetheless. You want to hear the head of the police say, "Listen, we push towards fair treatment," but they presented that treatment of that young black couple as if that was fair treatment, as if that's how they would treat an MP and their family, a white MP and his family, or a white celebrity, or it doesn't matter who the person is. They wouldn't treat that person in that way, depending on what area it is. And then for them to say it's in an high crime area, it's like justifying an urban black setting to be always a high crime area because of how the police and society view their statistics and do their work. So they use these little, as I keep highlighting week in week out, these little nuances to push a underhanded racist agenda. And unfortunately, I cannot agree with what the Met Police chief has said, because, and what they've concluded, that there's nothing wrong with that stop, because people shouldn't be going along their way and be dragged out their vehicles and handcuffed and then be let go. That's not police intelligence. That's police either racism or police stupidity. We know the majority of the police is stupid and they do have intelligence. So we appreciate that sometimes the stupid police get it wrong. You get me? The stupid part of the police get it wrong. But again, as the mayor, Sadiq Khan, said, police stops should be led by intelligence and not by emotions and brute force. And as you can see, all they wanted to do was push domination and control over that young black couple, as opposed to do a comprehensive and structured stop. If I had my child in that car and they did that to me, it would be a different story. You'd probably hear a different thing on the news today. But I'm me, and that young black couple is that young black couple. So they have to deal with it as they saw best. With me, I don't play them joke there. Whether I'm by myself, or worse if I have a little vulnerable child in the car with me. I don't even entertain them jokes. They either come correct or they don't come at all. So we have to kind of implore the powers that be that they shouldn't support this type of behavior just because the couple is black. And that's how we feel that the Met Police Chief, Crusader Dickhead, the Metropolitan Police, that's how we feel that she's dealt with it. You know, we felt that she's dealt with it in a way that just pushes the issue under the carpet, because in her head, um, she feels that there's no racism in the force. And that then goes towards the statistics to say black people are 4 times more likely to be stopped and searched than their white counterparts. And you know, we make up such a small percentage of the population, and yet when you look at the police stops versus black versus white, 4 times the volume, 124,000 stops for blacks and 118,000 stops for whites. And we're what, 9%, or whatever the case may. I don't know what the statistics is in terms of percentage, but we're a very low percentage. Let's say in the city we're 20 to 30%. Then that means we're, I'm sure it can be worked out from the statistics, 4 times more likely. And then check it, the NHS, we're 4 times more likely to die from COVID-19. It's funny in it that four is always in there. That if you're black, it's always going to be 4 times likely. So it does contribute, it does stay consistent with institutionalized racism broadened by individualized prejudices. So you have the racist officers in the force that then support each other, making it institutionalized. So the junior officers do wrong and the senior officers support them. And likewise you have to wonder what is going on in the NHS. Do you clap for your Kira? Do you clap for the NHS? It's something that I would, really query and ask, because with the death rate what it is, do you trust the health service as a black person at this moment? Would you say yes, you would trust them, or do you feel a bit skeptical? Because right now it's hard for me to trust any white man that I don't know different, or anyone that is within this state in a certain position where they're upholding the state regulations and the state laws, because it feels somewhat like the state is a bit institutionalized against certain aspects of things. And and you have to kind of think about that. There's a I want to say, in saying that, I want to jump onto just a point of thinking, because when we always look towards the state, we always look towards the state as the protectorate of the people, and I'm not just per se looking at Britain on a whole. I'm looking globally at this moment, and when we look at somewhere like China, with China's push to take over Hong Kong, we know that we are expecting what, some 3 million people from Hong Kong to perhaps come to the UK to seek refuge in this day and time, right? Now, when we look at how the Chinese state is moving against a lot of its own people, a lot of people will jump up and say, "Oh, it's wrong," or "It's right." The Chinese state is going to always do what the Chinese state does, and in parts, it's doing it in its own national interest. Does it make it wrong? Does it make it right? Because if it makes it wrong that the Chinese state is doing things in its own national interest, then we also have to look at this state to say, are the things that it is doing, is it wrong in its sense of global thinking as well? Just like how we would look at China outwardly, if we weren't in the UK and we were looking at the UK, would it be wrong? Because we know that the freedom of speech is being eroded significantly in the UK. We There's a lot of broadcasters, so we know ITV aren't allowed to speak about certain things. We know that a lot of the national broadcasters aren't allowed to speak about certain things. I know Eamon Holmes got lambasted in the media and by the Office of Communications to speak about certain things that they call Ofcom. But yet, last week, the BBC was allowed to do a documentary on I don't know who saw it, and I'm just speaking about the documentary. I don't even want to say it because I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it. That's how Britain is moving right now. That the BBC is allowed to speak about something that no one else is allowed to speak about. The BBC can freely highlight this point in their documentary, and you can probably go back onto the BBC iPlayer and look at its documentaries, and you'd find half an hour documentary, 30 minutes, on the current crisis. So you know what I'm talking about, and why the current crisis is being blamed or was blamed by a lot, and they named the celebrities that they said co-conspired with this so-called conspiracy to say that certain things that are going up, antennas and stuff, are linked to the COVID-19 pandemic in this country, and this is what's causing it, and blah blah blah. The BBC can talk about these things, and they can just dismiss what they dismiss in the documentary. It'll be good to go and have a watch of the documentary. But yet, if anyone talks about it, you know, they're shut down. If anyone says anything about it, they're shut down. So then it breeds the thinking: is there state narrative and state control of the mind? Because when you say is there state narrative or state control of the mind, it's the same thing that you're looking at and you're thinking about when you think about China. There might be certain liberties that you can't do, but it's still a state control of the mind. And it takes you back towards the times of, it takes you back towards the times of, what's his name, the MK Ultra experiment. You know, and if you don't know what the MK Ultra experiment in the United States, and well, it was a global thing as far as I'm concerned, but where, you know, they could put electrodes in the brains of animals and control them. You know, it just makes you feel like societies, that the states all around the globe wants to control society. It's amazing when you sit and you watch America, for example, and there's this big rhetoric against Donald Trump, and then by the media, and then so the media and everyone else got this complete narrative that's opposite to what Donald Trump is saying. But now, with everything that Donald Trump has said in the areas that have been proven right so far, they would turn around and say in the national media and the national press, well, a broken clock can be correct twice a day. And yet they haven't presented anything to say the broken clock isn't correct in the other dimensions, or during the other time periods when things are being said. But they would say that a broken clock, when things that he has said are clearly and now visibly true, they would turn and say a broken clock can be correct twice a day. You know, so Donald Trump is one of the first, a world leader that has said, as you know, just like Boris and all these other world leaders, you know, he came out and he highlighted the concerns around the disproportionate and inaccurate and inappropriate treatment of China on the global stage that needs to be readdressed because it's detracting and taking away from America and only benefiting those 1% few of which you would place him to be a member of. You know, and you know, in terms of strangling a lot of those deals and contracts, he was able to bring back jobs and investment into America by the billions. Not jobs, but the investment and jobs by the millions. So when we look at it now and they start seeing the things that he was saying about a Huawei, and we know that now we have Boris stepping in to rethink the Huawei deal and so forth. You know, all these things with what with them building the infrastructure. I don't want to use the term because I'm not allowed to use the term, building the next infrastructure from 4G. You all know what I mean. And the government looking to rethink that whole Huawei deal. That means if Donald Trump was saying this from the get-go, and a lot of these people were saying, then he was right. But yet the media presented it and everything that he says as if he was wrong. So there's this narrative of control. Who's right and who's wrong? Who's right and who's wrong? And you have to look and think, okay, where as the common saying now, the fake media, the fake press, how do you pick and choose what's right unless you're doing your own research and you're starting to check things out? And research doesn't mean you go onto YouTube and listen to someone ranting on the opposite side of the fence from what the state narrative is, because it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be true either. However, it's worrisome when you're not able to look and have that and get that comprehensive thinking and that comprehensive approach because someone just wants to push a single narrative. And it's like every country on this planet right now is pushing a narrative. And if you're not a part of the narrative that they're pushing, there is a move and a push to silence you. So the so-called phrase freedom of speech and having freedom in these westernized countries, that is completely being eroded. And if it's affecting white folks, what is going to happen to us? We have the weakest voice perhaps in this country because it's not a united voice per se. So how do we, look at those things, that element of control? How do we look at people always trying to delegate and dictate to us what should and shouldn't be done? They would call that the British nanny state, where everything that we do, it's like the state looks out for everyone and looks after everyone and tells everyone how to think. It just feels like the MK Ultra experiment might have died in the physical electoral, might have died when Nixon closed it down, but it doesn't feel like the incentive and the whole logistics of it really died in terms of the psychological propaganda that's played out on the people in terms of controlling their mindset. And you have to wonder, would there ever be a nefarious, underhanded state that would actually try to even bring back that level of control on free thinking? Because is thinking even free anymore? Because everything that we do and we get involved in, if we don't sit well with the narrative of the day, then we are scolded by society. Whilst I praise Google for its, sorry, whilst I praise Gucci, as the producer keeps correcting me, I praise Gucci for its approach in putting someone on using someone with Down syndrome as a face on their design and push. We can also look at it from the other side to say, are they taking advantage? In trying to be open and free for all, there's so much that we can look at things from different angles. We don't have to sit with the narrative for everyone to say, oh, this is a good thing. I think it's a good thing because I think you, as a company, you should be free to use whatever face and representative you want and be open. But in the same sense, not everyone will sit and look at that and think, oh, that's good, that's positive. Because we have the extreme left and we have the extreme right in everything that we do. But again, the state narrative, we have to always do what they say is politically correct. You have to be careful what you say, you have to be careful what you do. And with the guy like the what's his name? David Starkey. What an idiot he is. Anyway, I need to know if we got listeners first and foremost before I keep I rant any further and open up the phone line for communication. I just want to know if you're listening and I'm not just ranting to myself like a crazy person. They say it's the first sign of madness when you're talking to yourself. So the phone and text line is 0753 996 8143. I'll give it again, 0753 996 8143. It's Omega FM Radio. It's the doctor's surgery on Omega FM Radio. If you're listening, 104.1 or omegafmradio.co.uk, or the Doctor Surgery on YouTube, and then filter on YouTube via filter on YouTube via what's the word I'm looking for?
Channel.
The channels. And we are right at the top, the Doctor Surgery. Okay, so you will see TDS, the Doctor Surgery, right at the top. And you can watch live in the studio. I don't know if you want to see my ugly face ranting, but you can watch live in the studio um, on YouTube. So if you're listening, give us a call, give us a text message, just let us know that you're listening. 0753 996 8143. I'll give it again, 0753 996 8143. It'll be good to know that I'm not ranting to myself. Just give us a drop call or a missed call, and I'll be very grateful, you know. And please, if you can, keep your calls to within the show. You know, last week after the show, a caller called in and accused me of telling them off on air, and I had no idea what they were talking about. Saying I made disparaging comments about them on air when I know that I didn't say anything about anyone specifically on air last week, which didn't make any sense. So, if it'll be always good not to catch me when I'm actually going through the door, but whilst I'm in the studio so that a conversation can be had. And, because I do know that not everyone may agree with what I have to say. And I'm not asking for people to agree with what I'm saying. It's a dialogue. And if I say something that you don't agree with, give us a call and let me know what I said wrong and what your point of view is on the matter of that we're discussing. So again, 0753 996 8143. Is anyone, are you listening? It's like I got one drop call from 206. Give thanks 206. I know you're listening. Is there anyone else listening? Let me know. If I want somebody to listen this week, my gosh. So 206, it look like it's just you and us. You know? So, come on, let me know if you're listening so I can continue my rant. I'll carry on in the meantime for another 10 minutes. If I don't really get some calls, then it's like it's an early wrap up this week, because we always need to know that people are listening for us to keep ranting and keep the conversation going. So, David Starkey, for those who don't know, let me explain who David Starkey is. I want to use
What is it, please?
the actual article so that
Oh, thank you so much.
I want to use the actual article so everyone gets it. So basically,
Mm,
David Stark is
mm,
all over the news,
mm.
and he's now trying
Okay,
to apologize.
thank you.
Now, one of the things I would say to you guys is we will say to David Starkey
I'm listening.
personally from my perspective is I don't want no apology from you, you racist git. That's my position. I don't know what your position is. So let me say it again. They said David Starkey has issued an apology. But what I'm saying is, I don't want an apology from you, you racist git. If someone tries to punch me or trip me up along the path in life purposely and then turn around and try to say sorry when it didn't work and they look like they're in the wrong, I don't want no apology for that. I do not want an apology for intentional act. If you intentionally try to hurt me, you can keep your apology because there will never be any forgiveness. And if I get the chance, I will trip you back up. Simple and plain. I offer no apology, and I would love to know that everyone's like me, but it is what it is. And I'm not saying everyone's going to be like me. But if someone intentionally tries to trip you up or harms you in life, or throw something in your way in life intentionally, right? Offer them no forgiveness. You know when someone accidentally steps on your toes, that's understandable. If someone accidentally steps on your toe, that's an accident, and you can see an accident. But if someone intentionally steps on your toes, step back one days. I don't care. It is what it is. Accidents do happen. So when we have a man by the historian and TV presenter by David Starkey that would go onto a far right chat room with who was it again? Grimes,
Grimes.
a,
Darren.
eh?
Darren.
Darren Grimes, a far right blogger.
Mm.
Yeah. So this when we say a far right blogger, his views are always going to be of a racial white so in his thinking, in his crazy thinking, a racial white superiority. I can't get the word out. You know me I talk about. Because there's no such thing. So they think it in their head. Yeah. They feel that they have this superiority over us and this extreme far right thinking. So the moment you're on a interview with a far right analyst, a far right purveyor of misinformation, the moment you're on that platform, that's strike one. So to be on that platform is to be pandering to the listeners of that platform. And the listeners of that platform are likely to be those racist white dudes that you saw said that were saying that they were protecting statues down there in London a few weeks back. Okay, so that's the platform he was on. So you have to look at the context of things. You're on a platform of a known racist. And what do you say? Being on that platform of a known racist, that the black people did not suffer from a Holocaust or something like that, because if they had, then they would be none of them.
There wouldn't be so many
There wouldn't
doctors.
be so many damn, what's the word, so many damn black people right now
Yeah. In Britain and
in Britain. So many damn black people in Britain. His words. A historian and a TV
in
presenter.
Africa.
Huh?
Britain and Africa.
Britain and Africa? Oh, so many damn black people left in Britain and Africa. I probably think if I talk about Jamaica too, I will get vexed about that straight away. Yeah. Yeah. I don't even want to hear no apology. If I hear that somebody lick him down, I don't even care. I probably drink a drink and say, yeah, man, celebrate that. I don't care. I do not support anyone that tries to trip me up and then try to style it and take it back. You know what I'm saying? I'm not telling anyone to go lick him down. I didn't tell anyone to go lick him down. And I'm not telling you to go lick him down. I'm just saying, metaphorically speaking. So I'm just saying to you, it's like these people, they take us for idiots, innit? They feel that they can say anything. And you can imagine this guy is in his 70s. He's meant to be in his prime of wisdom. Wisdom is when you've gone through life and you've made so many mistakes, you've become wise to the world because you know how to navigate most paths on this planet, because you've made so many mistakes and you've gotten things right along the way, so much so that you are more you're in your elements. You might not have the strength, the physical strength to go back and redo life and rebuild things in the perfect state of what it should have been had you not made those mistakes and gotten it right all the way. But the thinking is in it's in its clearest, it should be in its clearest state of being. So in that manner, when you're thinking about an elder and that is got so much wisdom, and this is what he comes out with, it shows you the makeup of the man and what he was about during his younger years going through life. You can imagine the nastiness that he's done in his earlier life when he was younger. You can imagine the probably the students in all those universities that suffered from the adverse impact of his input. The black students that suffered from the adverse impact of his inputs. because he was so renowned that he was a part of several universities, not just one, including Cambridge. Cambridge, that's viewed as the number one university. Well, I don't know if it still is, but during his time was viewed as the number one university in the world. So you can imagine the impact such a character has on shaping history and shaping misinformation, and this is what he comes out and says. And I will tell you this: if any black person comes out and said they accept his apology, that person, if we could ban someone from being black, if we could ban someone from being black, don't accept the apology from anyone, black or white, anyone who intentionally went out to seek hurt and harm. I don't intentionally in life go out to seek hurt or harm anyone. And if I accidentally impact on someone, they have my sincerest apology. Okay? It was not my intention to do so. You know? But you have these people that they would go out and they would do that. Now some people say, but what do you say about Crusader Dick? You're always picking on her. Ah, she's a racist. I don't care. I'm talking about people, that decent people in the world. 95ers that you don't know, and you don't know what them about. We know what Crusader is about. She one of them. You know what I mean? Why they not want to uphold white superiority within this country? And she might deny that, but that's a fact in the behavior and in her talking. Yeah. So when we see David Starkey talking about he wants to issue and say sorry, he can keep his apology. The only reason he's saying that is because he's worried about his legacy. And as such, there should be no legacy. He should be known just like how Jimmy Savile is known. How is Jimmy Savile known, right? Jimmy Savile known as a pervert raper, right? David Starkey is a racist bigot. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. And you see, he's got a what next to his name? A CBE. Someone that's been honored, who's on a handed racist bigot. Well, it is what it is. But just to highlight. So, Mr. Starkey, you can keep your apology. You know what I mean? Nobody don't want it around here. Or no one should want it around here. That's our thinking. Because had you made that gap on BBC, you would have a element of, what, he didn't mean it like that. Had you made that mistake on ITV, you'd have a little inkling, a chance of saying, you know what, I didn't mean it like that. But you said it on a far right chat room. You knew and know what you were saying, right? And when you look at it and you deny the fact that black historians say over 120 million black people died during that Holocaust, during our Holocaust. And it wasn't really a Holocaust. We call it a Holocaust because we use terms conceptually and colloquially. So when we say Holocaust, we mean our hell that we went through upon earth. When the Jewish people use Holocaust, they probably mean when um, they went through the fire, death by burning. So they're using the proper semantics, the word that the dictionary would use by mixing the Latin and the Greek and all these fancy things together to create a word. They're using the proper semantics when you look up in the dictionary, you know what I'm saying? So by definition, it says. But when we say our English ain't so good because our English has been distorted by the fact that we were deprived of being able to teach our story, our culture, our language for 400 years. And not only in being denied that, we were denied from even learning the language that was being forced upon us in any structural sense. So as a result of that, a lot of black folks, not all, we have some quite we have a lot of black folks with quite good grammar and literature skills. You know what I'm saying? But like say me, I know the words, I know the right terms, I know where to place them, and I know to create that grammatical structure. But when I'm speaking, we do speak a different language when even if we're talking about English, because ours is one of concept and theirs is one of semantics. On dull blood, that throws a semantical mind into disarray because none of those words make grammatical sense and based on its meaning. But we know what we mean conceptually when we say wagwan do blood. You know what I'm saying? And we know what we mean. And it's not a matter of intelligence because you have young white kids now going wagwan do blood and they're using it conceptually correct. Once upon a time they didn't. 10 years back they didn't. I used to hear young white kids say things that were just conceptually incorrect. So we knew they didn't fully grasp what they were saying. But nowadays, they use it. So it's not a matter of intelligence or genetics. It's just a matter of being placed in a scenario where you have to use the language in such a way that one, you're hiding information from the state in some sense because geez, Babylon love listen to everything what you are saying. So you have to start talk back with you sometime. As Caribbean people would say, or old black people would say, Ghana. You have to start back with some Ghana. You get what I'm saying? So it's never been an intelligence issue. You know what I'm saying? Never has it been an intelligence issue. It's just been a case where we've been deprived for so long that we pass on the bad habits. Uh, just like how when you look back in the olden days, if you look back to your parents, they went through certain things growing up. You know what I mean? As children, for example, I'm just going to give you a simple example. As children, they could have gotten beatings for crying after being beaten. Does anyone does that resonate with anyone? Are you of that age where you could get a beating because you're crying after you got the beating? Yeah, you could get a beating for not crying after being beaten, and you could get a beating for crying without being beaten. Simple like that. Something. So that's how much that negative throwback for that period of time has impacted on us that it's taken such a long time to shake off a lot of the side effects and ill effects of that period of time. So bear that in mind. So tell the boy that to keep him apology. Um, these, you know, Lewis Hamilton, like I said earlier, he's been doing a lot. The drivers have come out and they've supported him. Some have taken their knees. But I felt that on Sunday, they gave Lewis Hamilton a little slap to say, still remember your place, boy. I do feel that. He had two penalties in a race where probably deserved, if we're going to say, all right, it's two, he probably deserved one. But in reality, he didn't really deserve any. But by less, if he had gotten away with both, then they would have said, oh, it's because. But yet, I just felt that they were just pushing to put him back in his place. Lewis, I know you can't say, and like the great champion you are, you took it on your chin. I'll speak it up for you. They slapped you, mate. But I know that you saw the slap and said, yeah, sure, minor things. I got 6 championships anyway. Hold the middle finger. Yeah, I understand that. Um, the producer wanted me to discuss Katie Hopkins. So let me discuss Katie Hopkins. I don't know who Katie Hopkins is really and truly.
She started on The Apprentice.
Now, the producer knows her well, says she started on a program called The Apprentice, and well, she got her notoriety
Mm.
on a program called The Apprentice, and I've heard her name bouncing around in the media for a while.
Mm.
I've never really watched The Apprentice. Is that with Alan Sugar?
Mm.
I've never really watched The Apprentice. Um, but so to tell you about people that's been on it, I know of The Apprentice, but I from all the stuff that's been bouncing around about Katie Hopkins is that she's an extremely racist woman.
Mm.
Was she racist on The Apprentice?
Oh, I can't remember her season.
Okay, so anyway, so she's now been permanently banned from Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So again, is this a positive or do we take it with raised eyebrows? And why do I say that? At the moment, it's fashionable to support Black Lives Matter. And so it should in terms of garnering the changes that are needed. But in the words of that little idiot on LBC, I don't like Imagine Nawaz, you have to watch your left flank. But I don't teach people stuff. I give them credit where credit is due. You have to watch your left flank. And these are my words, not his now. When we look at these changes in society, we always know that every single law in the past have come around in full circle to affect us the most. And when we look at someone like Katie Hopkins being banned off a prominent and a major social media platform, we have to wonder, well, what could happen or would happen if it was us? What could happen and would happen if it was us? You know, and when we look and see what could happen and would happen if it was us, we have to take it with a pinch of salt. We celebrate the victories, but we always have to keep our eyes on the ball to make sure that yes, voices like that shouldn't be out there spreading poison and hate, but we need to then keep an eye on it that they don't start muzzling us when we get down into the nitty gritty of what's plaguing us as a people. Always remember that. There's a nitty gritty of things that plague us as a people. And we always need to look at, we always need to be able to have that ability and that intellectual acumen to be able to verbalize that. And one of our problems that we have as a people is the ability to verbalize what we mean. Remember, I said earlier, and I'm going to say it again, white folks and black folks speaking English are speaking two different languages. I don't mean the white folks that you hang around with that understand the nuances and the conceptualization of the language. I'm talking about the powers that be, white folks and black folks. So black folks that are working or professional class to some degree, and upper echelon society, statewide influences speak two different languages. It's not possible at this moment in time, as it seems, for a billionaire white man to understand the plight of a broke black man. And it's not possible for a broke black man to understand the plight of a billionaire. I hope that makes sense. How can you, as a broke black man, black woman, or black person, or even a broke white person for that matter of fact, understand the plight of a billionaire? Some people say the plight of a billionaire. When I say the plight of a billionaire, I mean his woes, his problems. All in your head as a broke person would be, what? You're a billionaire. If I was a billionaire, I'd be doing this, I'd be doing that, I'd be doing this. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you understand the plight of a billionaire? The plight of someone like Bill Gates is, oh man, there's too much people in the world. I can't, you know what I mean? You have to say it like that. No, his plight is there's too much people in the world. I got to save the world. I got to save the world by reducing the population. You know, that's the plight. That's his plight, right? And you're thinking, if I had Bill Gates' money, man, I'll be chilling out on my yacht, cruising. I'm not saying that's exactly what everyone will be saying, but we have to kind of follow and grasp that we all don't understand the plight of each other. And in that vague area where our plights go unseen and unheard, it takes someone with the ability to highlight that plight and explain it before that plight can be addressed appropriately. Now, I think in some people feel the Black Lives Matter movement is glossing over a lot of the plight of the black man. But it isn't. If you're smart enough, it's creating a narrative where you're supposed to be able to be eloquent in your speech enough to highlight the important factors, highlight the key underlying issues along the way. Don't allow it to be glossed over because it can only happen if it's allowed to do so. As an example, okay, so yeah, it's the doctor's surgery. The phone line 0753 996 8143. 0753 996 8143. We do it each and every Tuesday morning. It should be from 8 until 11. We do apologize for this morning. The producer wasn't feeling very well. If I blame the producer, you get me? I ain't taking the blame. So, you know, I couldn't get to the studio in time because, the meeting time was delayed. So I blame the producer right now. So if she won't come tell you anything else, she's right here, me talking. I don't talk behind her face, I'm talking in front of her face. Right? All right. So text message reads, you don't know bless, from 206. 258, morning please. Please know that I look forward to your show every week. You're doing a fantastic job. Don't think of stopping. One love, Jay. Thank you very much, Jay. I do appreciate that it does help. I want to open up the phone line after. I'm going to open up the phone line for conversation about these stuff that I've been talking after the 10 o'clock news and ad break. Um, you know, I want to, create that discussion and get you to rebuttal anything that I'm saying. There was a lot that we spoke about. That there was a lot that happened over the past week, so there was a lot to speak about today. As you know, if you're just a first time listener, the Doctor's Surgery is Britain's first Black current affairs show, and we discuss the current affairs that have taken place in the media over the past week. If we can get the listening audience of the show up and the subscription on the YouTube channel up, we can increase the show from once a week to a more frequent show. But we need to get that listening audience up and get those subscription up. So if you haven't subscribed to the show yet on the YouTube, go to the Doctor's Surgery, filter by channels. After you search the Doctor's Surgery, go into filter and then choose channels, and we're right at the top. I want you to subscribe. If we can get our subscription up, we need to get our subscription up from the low levels where it is to probably about 1,000. That's the aim, right? 1,000 people. Share it to your friends, share it to your network. Get 1,000 subscribers. Once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we can start to develop some momentum where the show can increase from once a week to a more frequent format where we can discuss current affairs in greater depth, because they're on air every day, Monday to Friday. They're on air and they push out these narratives that we need to set the record straight with. We need to rebuttal some of these things and we need to correct some of these things. So, for instance, this morning, the big topic of debate is that a third of Britain will not take the vaccine. So now there's a big narrative and state push to address this one third of the country that would refuse the vaccine. So this is a problem in the UK. Like I said, they say misery loves company. So if the 2/3 are going to be upset with the third, whereas the third ain't upset with the 2/3, this is the confusion, the confusing state in life. So you're gonna have the 2/3 now trying to, someone that will take the vaccine is going to be upset and want to force it on you. Shouldn't you be saying to them, listen, big man, if the thing I will kill you and you want I saw a thing set, you're not poison yourself for just to avoid the thing. You get what I'm saying? It is what it is. You take it, you're not telling them not to take it. Because some people just don't like pharmaceuticals. And black people just don't trust white people these days when it comes to the medical 4-to-1 ratio. See, I wonder if they're gonna feel a way that I've said that. Well, if you trust them, up to you. But right now, the trust scenario, it makes it difficult when death rates are 4-to-1. Until that is answered and you want to go trust them, more power to you. But right now I take everything with a pinch of salt. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trusting nothing until I know why there's a 4-to-1. It makes sense and it's not some convoluted stuff because, in your own words, this disproportionate death rate is due to institutional racism within the NHS. And I say this week in, week out since they've come out and said that. Institutional racism in the NHS contributed to this 4-to-1 death rate. How? How? Are the doctors killing these people because they're black? Because how else is it? What does that mean? We're stupid, right? We have to ask these questions. So we don't understand the semantics. When the word is placed all eloquently in these newspaper articles, we don't understand it. We go by the concepts. So if you say it's due to institutional racism, conceptually in our head, we hear the doctors killing black people. That's what we hear, right? Please elaborate. Break it down to us. How is it institutional racism that caused the disproportionality in the NHS? How? Don't just say it does. How? How did it manifest in that way? What about the institutional racism in the NHS that caused 4 times more black people to die than white people? How? And why does it tally up 4-to-1 when we look at the police abusing black people and stopping them on the road 4-to-1? Why is it the same thing? Are you just so yes, it tallies up. There's correlation, but we know how the police is what and why the police is 4-to-1 because you get a lot of valley people from outer Wales that they join the police and they tend to be the most racist. And I'm taking that talk back. That's my experience. Yeah. The most racist officers that I've come across, they've been from Wales. You know what I'm saying? The Scots are blatant, but they're jovially friendly in most senses. So they'll say blatant racist comments and blatant inappropriate comments, but they're jovially friendly. They're just people that probably have verbal diarrhea to say anything. Probably like myself with this show. You know, so 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But from experience, you get a lot of Welsh guys that come in that have no idea how to interact with black folks around here, and they feel like because they're in a suit, they can do what they see on TV. It's like they get automatic authority to do so. I think they should keep the Welsh and the Valley Police in our wheels over this still. You get me? Because we know what the scenario is with that. We know about the little black boy that drowned last year. Or was it last year? Yes, last summer. And what the Welsh police did with that one. So, yeah, 6 of one, half a dozen. We're coming up to the news and advert break in a minute. So remember, we're gonna open up the phone line to discuss any of these things. We want some calls. I'm not sitting here ranting all day and just talking. It's a dialogue show. I've said a lot of things Some of them could be right, some of them could be wrong, the whole of it could be wrong, and the whole of it could be right. It's good for me to be reined in and we have a discussion around it. So when we come back after the news and advert, I want people to call in and give me your take on all different things. Are you a Formula One buff? Did you watch the race? Do you agree that they kind of gave Lewis Hamilton a spanking to put him back in his place? You know how these people are with the what's the word? With the subtlety, right? In how they do things. So remember, when we come back, when we come back live, the number is 0753 996 8143. 0753 996 8143. One last time for the money, 0753 996 8143. The doctor's surgery. We're live as we speak on omegafmradio.co.uk, Omega 104.1, Omega London TV presents YouTube, mixcloud.com/Omega DJ, and the doctor's surgery on YouTube. You search in the panel, the doctor's surgery. Go to filters, choose channel, and we're right at the top. It's all live and direct, and we'll catch you back after the news and advert on the other side. Keep listening.